you guys. It's episode 41 of War Stories. And without further ado, you already know I'm going to get straight to it. So check it out, you guys. I've already I've already knocked the hat trick out the park, man. I'm going to keep trying to drop more episodes of War Stories tonight. If I don't get any more out after this one, I'll pick it up again tomorrow. Now, I'm going to take you guys back, way back again to 1988. Now, I just dropped a war story. One of the episodes that I just dropped, I talked about the Mission District, during the time when I grew up around 1987, 88, 89, during the time when I was around 17 and 18 years old. So, during this time, I was entrenched in criminal activity. I used to kick it with a couple older homeboys of mine from my neighborhood. John Romero was one who I refer to in my book as my criminal mentor. Angel from Daly City was another solid homeboy that I kicked it with. And you guys got to remember, a lot of these dudes were older than me at the time when I was kicking it with them. Angel had been in the joint. He was around 28 when I started kicking it with him. I was 17. Sleepy, I started kicking it with him when I was 12, 13 years old. He was around 26. He'd already been in the joint. These dudes were already laced up. So they were lacing me up. And that's why I referred to Sleepy as my criminal mentor. Now, in 88, like I said, I was entrenched in criminal activity. I was robbing people out there. I was doing home invasions. I was doing burglaries. I was taking cars, whatever I could do, anything and everything I could do to make money as far as in the criminal element I was doing. And when I was running around with these cats, it was nonstop. I already talked a lot about this in some of my past lives in Inner Demons, some of my past war stories, but as a young gang member growing up in the Mission District, I learned early on that the more violent I was, the more respect I got. That's just how the streets work. Violence is how you get credibility out there on the streets. Even in prison cred, you get your prison cred by stabbing people, by spilling blood. It's the same thing on the streets. I learned to be violent, and I learned how to suppress, my conscience. I didn't have no conscience. I'd be out there hurting people, ripping and running, dogging people out, and I wouldn't even think about it 5 minutes later. Look at that one time when we robbed that one cat, and me and the other homie, our dumb asses, we go to a taqueria, and we're standing in line, drunk as a motherfucker, trying to get some straight typical Mexicans, Mexicans. We're trying to get some burritos. Drunk as a motherfucker after we just stomped some fool out and took his money. But anyway, so I'm 18 years old. I'm running around in the Mission District. At this time, I want to say, well, during this one period of time, my mom was still out there. She would end up going in and out of prison several times. My mom, she was a 3-time loser. She'd been to the joint, when she was alive, young, I think the first time she went to prison was around the age of 23. She went again when she was 26, 27, and then she went later on when she was in her 30s. So she had been in the joint 3 times. Now, I remember I told you guys about one of my past stories that involved my mom, actually. For a lot of you that grew up like I grew up, we had different kind of relationships with our mom. Mom's was kind of like the homegirl. She was like a friend. That's how my mom was. I considered her like my road dog. Now, I don't like to use the word enabler, but it is what it is. My mom, she used to let me do what I did out there. She used to just let me run wild. I was going to do it anyway. She knew she couldn't stop me. So it was what it was. A lot of the times when I'd be out there burglarizing in the neighborhood or doing home invasions, when me and the homeboy Sleepy would leave the house during the period of time when he was living there with us, and they brought him in as like their son, they knew what we were going to do. When we would leave at 3 o'clock in the morning, when people would just be leaving for work at 4 and 5, we'd be casing out the neighborhoods, looking for houses to rob, looking for people that are coming out of their houses going to work so we could jump on them, take their money, or go up in their house and burglarize their house once they left. So, she understood. She understood what I was out there doing. And a lot of the times, when my mom needed rent money or something, if I heard her talk about it or if I found out about it, I would go hit a lick. Like I wouldn't let my mom want for nothing. That was my mom, and we had a real close relationship, even though it was a lot different than a lot of the normal relationships that mothers have with their sons or their daughters. A lot of us just that's the type of relationship that we had because some of our parents were young parents, and some of them were caught up in those same cycles that we would end up getting caught up in, and that's just the way it was. That was just a way of life for a lot of us. And it wasn't that they were just bad parents. They just didn't have parenting skills, or they didn't know. They didn't know how, to be a mother or father, or, they were just young and they were, like I said, they were caught up in the same element. So there was a time when, like when I told you guys, my mom she used to sit inside of a restaurant down there on 16th and Mission while my stepfather would be out walking Mission Street directing traffic to my mom. People that would come up to him and ask him, if he had dope, he would send them in there to my mom. And both of them are gone now. I'll be honest with you guys, when I think back on it in retrospect, I don't have resentment towards my stepfather, but there's a lot of things that happened that I just don't agree with. When I think about it, it kind of rubs me the wrong way, but there's nothing I can do about it now. They had a different kind of relationship. And some of the times when I did want to get involved because I didn't like what I was seeing, my mom, she used to boost as well. I remember when me, my mom, and my stepfather would drive to some of the big malls out there in San Francisco or Daly City, Tanforan, the Daly City Mall out there, another mall out there by down in the it's in the what do you call that, the Ocean Beach area down there. I forget the name of the mall, but we would drive out there. Me and my stepfather, we would sit in the car, and my mom would go in the store, and she'd come out with like two shopping carts full of fucking merchandise. She was a booster. At the time when I was a kid, I didn't know what she was doing, but I kind of knew what she was doing, if you understand what I'm saying. I was too young to really grasp the concept of what she was really doing, but I knew she was in there stealing. So I really didn't have an opinion about it. It's not like I held resentment towards my stepfather at that time, like, dude, what are you doing? Why are you allowing my mom to do this shit, man? Especially when she got caught. But, it wouldn't be till years later when, I went to prison and I started thinking about some of the things that, he was allowing her to do. Um, like I said, they're both gone now. So they're painful memories to think about. And I don't like to put him in that light, even though I feel like he was wrong for doing some of the things that he did or that he allowed her to do. I just don't think that he should have allowed a lot of that to happen. I've always been the type of person, even though I seen these things growing up, the type of guy that I would never depend on, my girl to do things like that. I would always protect her or be the one to go out and be the breadwinner to make money. I would never have her out there in the streets doing shit like that. That's not me. Anyway, so during the time when, my mom would be out there sitting in this coffee shop, mingling with these street people and, spitting dope out her mouth and she'd be the one to hold all the money. I'd be out there selling dope too. Now, there was one point in time when my stepfather got arrested. He ended up catching a case. He got busted. I mean, we got raided 2 or 3 times. We lost everything. We all went to jail. They went to both of them went to prison. I went to juvenile. We lost the house, lost all our property, dogs, cats, everything, all the animals we had. They let them all out. The cops let them out. My mom had an aviary. They let a fucking 1,000 birds fly out the back, the back door. but we lost everything like 2 or 3 times. I remember twice. We had a house with a lot of stuff. We had accumulated a lot of stuff, but we lost it all. Even the sentimental things like pictures and all that shit, it was all gone. Anyway, when my stepfather got busted, I was out there trying to take care of my mom. She was strung out. I was strung out, but I felt like I needed to be the one to step up and look out for her. So I was out there slinging, making sure she had a room every night to sleep in. I would rent a room for a week down there in the Mission District in some of those hotels I told you guys about. Not the real funky ones, at least the ones that I could kind of afford that weren't that bad. I put her up in a room and I'd get a room and I'd support both of our habits. I believe I told you guys this story one time, and I'll just give you the short version of it though. There was one time when my mom was sick, I was sick. I had like I want to say two bags left, and we had pretty much did all the dope we could do. We had to sell the last 2 bags in order to re-up. If we did anything else, we would have been short. So we had done all our profit. So we had to sell these last 2 bags in order to recop and re-up. Now, we're both sick. So I told her, go down to 16th, and if there's any traffic, shoot them my way. I'm going to post up on 17th. And if there's anybody that comes this way, I'll take care of them up here. And I'll let you know if I get rid of them. We can get rid of them. She just wanted to get well. She was like, I'm sick. We need to get rid of these last 2 bags. Otherwise, we're going to be in trouble. So she comes up. She goes down to 16th. She comes up about 15 minutes later. She comes up with this cat. He's got a handlebar mustache. He's got a baseball cap flipped backwards with the fucking Harley Davidson logo on it. Shit. Steel toe work boots, jeans. He's got the wallet with the chain hanging in it, looking like a straight fucking biker. I never seen the dude before. And I had been running around in the Mission at that time, I was almost 18. So I'd been running around out there since I was like 12 or 13. I knew everybody out there. I never seen this dude before. My mom brings him up to me and she's like, give me those last 2 bags. And I'm like, hold up. I'm like, I look at this dude and something about him just rubbed me the wrong way. And I was like, you know him? And my mom was like, yeah. She was like, just give me the 2 bags. Just give them to me. And I was like, nah, I'm not giving you. I said, what you need, man? And he's like, man, he was like, really, I'm looking for some cocaine, man. I'm looking for some blow. He's like, but she told me you guys got some fat ass bags. He goes, I got a boy that I can get rid of that too. And I actually can make a little bit more money if I get some black and take that to him. And I just get the coke from him if you guys don't got the coke. And I'm like, nah, we ain't got no powder, man. But he flipped had that little twist and it sounded all good. And I was like, man, I was like, all right. I'm like, well, I got 220s, man. I said, you got $40? He was like, yeah. So I spit the 2 bags out. He gives me the $40. I give him the bags, fucking take 2 steps, and I get swarmed on. Like these fucking undercovers, man, came from, I don't know where they came from, but they swooped on me. They must have been hiding around the cars or somewhere. I'm usually up on my toes. I usually see them coming, but they were on me. So they jacked me up. I just did a hand-to-hand sales. I'm busted, dead fucking bang. I caught a case, and I had never caught a case down there on my own, not a sales case. I told you guys that one story where these motherfuckers had been trying to get me caught up for a while, and they'd never been able to get me. I was too slick, man. But they caught me in a hotel room, and that night I fell asleep with the gram in my hand, and I ended up rolling over on it, and it was stuck to my back. Fucking stupid ass. But anyway, so I was dead busted, man. I did a sales right there with the cop. This dude was a fucking cop. So I remember his name too. His name was Escobar. So anyway, I want to say this was like one of the first cases that I caught because so obviously they took us both to jail that night. They take us both to jail. They charge us both. Even though I'm the one that did it, she ends up getting hit with the conspiracy. And I believe it was like a constructive possession or something like that. But she had a case too. So I stayed in the jail for about 2 or 3 days, and they released me on my own recognizance. I barely had a record, so I was still able to get out like that. Anyway, I got out. I go back to doing what I do, and my mom, she's in jail, and she still got the case. The case is still active on her, and I go up and visit her, and I tell her, I'm like, Mom, I'm not gonna fucking let you go down on this case. I'm gonna take the whole case. I'm gonna try to plead guilty to it and get them to drop the charges on you. And you guys gotta understand, for a mother to be able to accept, having to allow herself to let her own son take a case like that. I imagine it made her feel like shit. But I understood that, and I told her, man, come on. She was like, you know what? She bawled, man, in the visiting room when I told her that. She was like, "You really do that for me?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? You're my mom." But she was like, I didn't want to say nothing. I would never ask you to take a case for me. She was like, "But they're gonna wash me up. If they were gonna hit her with the little bitch, if she would have got convicted on that 15 years." But I told her, nah, it's not even an option. I'm definitely gonna take the case. So I'd already talked to my public pretender, and it was pretty much a done deal. But I just want to tell you guys about that case that I caught, with her out there. But anyway, so we were real tight, man. Me and her we had a real close relationship. Even when I was in foster care, she always used to come see me. She always maintained contact with me, man. So we had that bond, we had that relationship. Now, before we caught that case, and I believe my stepfather was still out there at that time, he was a smaller guy. Even when I was 18, I pretty much damn near, you know, was bigger than him at that time. I remember there was a cat named Manzel, and he was an Africano. And I knew Manzel. I used to fuck with him out there. Sometimes he needed dope. I used to sell him dope. I'd actually, kicked it with him a couple times. Anyway, my mom knew what kind of cat I was, because if I found out somebody disrespected her, or if somebody did something, to her, my stepfather, I would fucking regulate. I would nut up and do something stupid. I would stab somebody, beat the shit out of somebody, jump on somebody. I was quick to put my hands on cats, even as a youngster, as a 18-year-old. So she would never want to tell me about if somebody disrespected her. She would like tell other people, do not tell my son what happened, because she knew what I would do. So whatever reason, I still to this day do not know what the circumstances were. But my stepfather and my mom were down there on 16th, and supposedly, Manzel, this Africano, he'd been in the joint, straight street cat, was always out there hustling and shit. He went in there and sat at the table with my mom, I guess, to get some dope. And I don't know if he was short. I don't know what the trip was, but they had words, and this dude spit in my mom's face. And it's not that my stepfather was a coward, that he wouldn't do nothing about it, but he wasn't that aggressive type of cat. And I know if he would have seen Manzel, he probably would have regulated on him before I got to him. But she didn't even tell me about it. I ended up hearing about it from somebody else that was right there on that little strip that day, that used to work between 16th and 17th. Another dealer that was out there. He was like, "Hey, Junior," that's what they used to call me in that area right there on the streets, Junior. So he was like, hey, did you hear what Manziel did? And I'm like, what'd he do? He was like, man, hey, don't tell your mom I told you, man. He was like, but he spit in her face, man. And I'm like, you're fucking kidding, man. He spit in her face. And he was like, yeah, man. He was like, I know she doesn't want you to know about it, and don't tell her I told you, but he spit in your mom's face, man. So I was like, motherfucker, man. So I go in and I go in the restaurant where my mom was at, and I sit down at the table and I tell her, I said, hey, I said, what happened earlier? And she was like, nothing. What are you talking about? And I'm like, come on, don't play games with me, man. What the fuck did Manziel do? And she was like, I'm asking you right now. Don't do nothing to Manziel. She was like, you know what? We had words and that's all it was. I said, bullshit. That motherfucker spit in your face. Anyway, she wouldn't admit it to me, but I know that the individual that told me wouldn't lie. And later on, other people told me I'd heard about it. So I went hunting for this dude, and he wasn't hard to find, man. The day that happened, I was kicking it with the homeboy Angel from Daly City. Angel was a hitter. He done time into Hatchapee, and when it came to like knife play out there on the streets, Angel was he's a cat that would stick the shit out of you in a minute, man. You guys will hear stories about me and Angel when we used to run around out there as well. But this dude was treacherous for stabbing people. I mean, over some silly shit. He pulled his blade out and stab somebody. Anyway, so we're looking for Manziel, and I caught him right up the street on 17th and Mission, right on the corner. Broad motherfucking daylight, man. And I remember, man, I told Angel, there he goes, right there he is, right there, bro. And I looked for a bottle. I didn't have a weapon on me. Angel had a blade, but I looked for a bottle or something. And I remember I couldn't find nothing. I was just looking for a bottle in the street, anything just to crack this fool, do something to him. And I couldn't find nothing. So I just ran up on him, and you guys already know what's coming, man. So I blaze on this dude, right? I blaze on him. I give him I give him like a 25 piece, man. I mean, I went to town on this boy. He disrespected my mom, spit my mom's. That's about the lowest thing that you can do is spit in somebody's face, somebody's mother's face. I was trying to knock his motherfucking head off, man. So I give him like a good 25 piece, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's this white dude with no shirt on, tack back. He comes up and he fucking cracks Manziel in the head, breaks the bottle, and then he still got the neck of the bottle in his hand, and then he stabs him in the face with it. Manziel was leaking like a motherfucker, man. He pops up, he's leaking like a pig, man. The white boy opened him up with the bottle, something vicious. Angel had a blade on him, but honestly, dude was so fucked up that we just let him go. I mean, he looked like he had so much blood coming out of his face and out of his head that it looked like he was dying, man, straight up. And I remember though, I remember telling Manziel, you ever disrespect my mother again, man, I'll kill you, man. And I meant it. I meant it, man. Later on, I would end up seeing Manziel again, obviously, because he was a street dude. He lived on the street. He hustled out there. That was his area. It was like the stomping grounds out there. And I remember him coming up to me, man. I really didn't have no conversation for the dude, and I didn't want nothing else to do with him. But I remember him telling me, he was like, Junior, he was like, man, you're wrong for this, man. He pointed at his face because his face was scarred the fuck up. I didn't even do that to him. The white boy did. but he didn't know who did it to him because after I thrashed him, he was like semi-unconscious, man. And then the old boy came, hit him in the head, and stuck him in the face. So, you know, he probably thought it was me, but he told me you're wrong for this. He was like, I never disrespect your mom like that. I've been knowing, my mom's name, they called her Cat. He's like, I've been knowing Cat for years, and your stepfather, man, I would have never disrespected her like that. She never confirmed it to me because she just wouldn't talk about it. But I believe he did. I believe he did something. And like I said, the dude that told me, um, I don't see why he'd have a reason to lie about it. I know some of you can relate to that. What would you do if somebody disrespected your mother like that? Spit in your mom's face. That's about the worst thing that you could do to somebody. And he's lucky he didn't get killed on that corner. Because I mean, you guys know how the streets are. People get killed for shit less less than shit like that out there on the streets. You know, anyway, I know this wasn't a banger, but it was something that I did out there. It was something that I did with the homie. And if I had a picture of this fool's face, if you guys could see what we did to him, you'd understand why this does go into the category of a war story. I was 17, 18 years old. It's just something that happened, man. It's something that happened. It's something that I reflect on in the past. It's part of my memories from the Mission District. Even when I think about my mom, for whatever reason, even though it's a bad memory, it's still something that I think about. I think about all the things, the good things, the bad things that happened to her, the case that we caught, the time that she took me to foster care and walked out, and the time she used to come visit me. When that's all I got is memories. That's all I got to hold on to is the memories that she left me with. um those of you that still have your mom and your father, those of you that are lucky enough, fortunate enough to still have moms and pops around, you guys better cherish that shit. Spend every single day that you can, every opportunity that you get to tell them that you love them and that, just how much they mean to you. Because I'm telling you, man, I've lost a wife. I've lost my mom. I've lost, my biological father. I lost my stepfather. And they're different kind of pains, man. When you lose a parent, this is somebody that you feel like has been a lifelong companion, somebody that's been with you forever from the very beginning. So it's a different kind of hurt, man. Me and my mom were close. Even though we had that different kind of relationship, we were close. And it destroyed me when she passed away. My stepfather, the same thing. He pretty much raised me from the time I was a kid, man. I think I was around 7 when I made my way back to my mom's house, and they were already together. So he raised me from like the age of 7, and he just passed away once I got out of the Santa Clara County Jail after all that shit. I want to say he passed away in 2014. I want to say it was 2014, about a year and a half after I got out. But they're a different kind of pain. So trust me, you guys are lucky enough to still have your mother and father around. God forbid you have to go through it anytime soon, but you'll understand what I'm saying, and you will absolutely regret not, you know, either mending some bridges that you guys, some differences that you had with them, bearing some bad feelings. Life's too short. Life is too short. It can take any one of, we all have expiration dates. Unfortunately, we don't know when they are. They could come at any given time, man. So spend a good amount of time letting them know how precious they are, how special they are to you. There's nothing like, your mother and father, man. And you guys know that. Anyway, I'm not gonna keep going on and on about this, man, and turn this into some type of sentimental trip, but That's all I got is memories. I have memories. Some of them good, some of them bad. Anyways, I'm gonna try to drop a couple more episodes for you guys. If not tonight, again, I'll drop them tomorrow. I'm gonna try to keep the content coming because, like I said, we had a couple weeks where we went dark, so we're trying to play catch up. Anyways, you guys, this episode 41 of War Stories. It's your boy B, and I'm out.